Hello guys, today I will try to improve Eloquent query, or in fact a controller, based on this email. In the attachment here, or in fact in the full project, we see this example in the controller. So there's a query for querying the buildings from the database, but the query is slightly different from the role. It uses Spotty Laravel permission package, and if the role is admin, then the query is this. If the role is supervisor, then the query is similar, but with a difference that checked at is introduced. Otherwise, if the buildings are not yet set, which means none of those roles are present, then we query the buildings with user ID and also cache that. And the question was how to improve that to avoid 3 repeating queries. So let's do it step by step. First, what are the absolute repeating parts, and we can extract them outside of that. So I've noticed that building select is absolutely identical, and also when request keyword is also present in all those 3 rows. So let's actually copy everything. And also the repeating parts are order by, and paginate. Those are absolutely identical. So let's get them outside of those if. So select is the same. When is the same, user not needed here, and order by will still be present. And the when syntax is actually really suitable here, even for chaining the when. So instead of if statements, I would suggest to query when something else, add more condition. So this part stays identical for all the rows, this part is identical, and then we add rows here. So instead of having if statements, we would use when the role is admin, then function query, what we need to add for admin. In fact, there's no additional query for admin, so we don't need to add anything here. So we can completely remove that if statement, because that is how admin works by default, without this. So this is a query for admin. Now let's go deeper. Supervisor. Supervisor adds checked at. So let's introduce exactly that. So when has role supervisor, then we add query where, this, copy from here, query where, like this. Okay, so we've done with the supervisor, and we can remove that one as well. So much shorter already, right? And now we get to the last part to get the buildings if it's not admin or supervisor, and it adds this condition, where user ID. So let's implement exactly that. We copy and paste the when condition, and we'll add when not auth user has role of admin or supervisor, like this, because has role function in Spotty permission package, if we dive deeper into the trait of has roles function may be accepting roles as string. So it may be string, it may be integer, it may be instance of role object, or it may be array, and array would trigger the for each loop of each of the roles. So if I'm not mistaken, this is the correct condition for not admin and not supervisor. And then the query where would be query where user ID equals user ID, like this. And then we also need to pass user ID here, use user ID. And let me check if we pass the use elsewhere. Oh, in fact, this one, I think this is incorrect because I'm not sure if the keyword is used elsewhere. I don't think it is. So probably a more accurate way would be to use request here and then pass request keyword here. Okay, so now we have query with 3 conditions, and that is much shorter, isn't it? So we can now remove all that if buildings except for one thing. We didn't encounter caching. So there should be cache forever on the case where it is not admin or supervisor. So in this case, how to implement that? Let's just copy and paste this condition. So if not admin or supervisor, we will do caching. So if not, we will do cache forever, like this. And also let's check if the cache exists before running this query, because we may not need it if the cache exists. At least that was the logic of previous query when I took it over. So we get the buildings from the cache. If not buildings, then we run the query and then cache it if we have those roles. So that is my version of improving that query. What would you differently? Maybe I didn't encounter something, and to be honest, I didn't actually launch this query. That was just my kind of live mode, live code workaround. So I hope I didn't break any logic, but it seems logical to me. Maybe you have something to add? Then shoot in the comments. And if you want to know more about such Eloquent stuff like Eloquent When or other Eloquent functions, I have a few courses on my Teachable platform. The newest one is for Eloquent Performance, but I also have a course called Eloquent Expert Level, which is an older one, but majority of those things are still relevant. So you can get all those courses. One by one you can purchase them, and older courses are actually cheaper, $9 plus VAT. But you can get all of them by purchasing a yearly membership for $99 plus taxes if that applies to you. Currently I'm working on a course about GraphQL, which should be released by the end of November. And see you guys in those courses or in other free videos on this YouTube channel.